Hi, T. Carlson here, and of course, a few months ago I did a review for Death Wish 2 in 4K, and I'll certainly be reviewing the first film when it comes out later in January. Today we'll be taking a look at a special edition Blu-ray release of the third film in the series, Death Wish 3. This series, of course, starring the always great Charles Bronson, vigilante films in which you get to see this guy giving criminals their comeuppance, and no matter how ridiculous they get, the premise is always relevant and fun, even if a little over the top at times. I'm going to unbox this release and I'll share my opinions. Great cover art there, simple and to the point. I like how they actually use the logo for that's in the trailer, which oddly enough was not used in the actual film. Here's the spine, back cover. Sadly, the inside of this is just plain, but I'm more interested in what's on the disc anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and read the summary that we get on the back of the package here. First of all, there's a quote at the top. One of the strangest, most gloriously violent films of the 1980s. That's from Craig Lyons from Den of Geek. And here's the summary. Screen legend Charles Bronson returns as Paul Kersey, an everyday man turned vigilante after the murders of his wife and daughter. Paul doesn't seek out violence, it just seems to find him. But when it does, he never backs down. Road-worn and battle-weary, Kersey longs to leave his fighting days behind him. When he arrives in New York to visit an old friend, he finds him brutally attacked and gasping for breath in a pool of blood. Now the Silent Avenger must wage war once more on the city's punks, thugs, and hoodlums. This time he's brought a small arsenal of guns, knives, and even a bazooka. Death Wish 3 is an action-packed, gun-blazing, no-holds-barred thriller. The stellar supporting cast that includes Deborah Raffin, Ed Lauter, Martin Balsam, Gavin O'Herlihy, Alex Winter, and Rico Ross. Death Wish 3 was the sixth and final collaboration between Bronson and director Michael Winner. Now watch this action classic from a brand new 2K scheme. The premise behind the Death Wish films, of course, is simple. Charles Bronson plays Paul Kersey, who's a New York City architect. His wife and daughter are murdered. His wife dies from an attack in the first film that renders his daughter a vegetable, and then when she starts coming out of her shell in the second movie, she of course is attacked and raped again and commits suicide to get away from the thugs in question. By this point, Kersey's got no immediate family left, so he's going back to New York to visit a friend, and it's not long before war starts breaking loose between the people in the area and the gangs that have come there. And the cops, of course, are pretty incompetent and really only seem to enforce laws that hurt the people that actually need help the most. I read a review once that said Death Wish 3 is simultaneously the best and worst Death Wish film. It's the worst one because it throws any semblance of reality out of the window, and it just features a bunch of over-the-top schlock and violence to which there's no end, and it's the best movie for all those same reasons. And I have to say, that's actually a pretty accurate description of what's to be had here. There are some great performances to be had here. Gavin O'Herlihy, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, that guy's like the consummate bad guy actor. It's like every time you need a character that's a piece of trash, this is the guy you go out and hire. And he always turns in a great performance, whether it's Never Say Never Again, Superman 3, Lonesome Dove, or this movie. He plays bad guys so well. He was also the original Chuck Cunningham on Happy Days back in the day, so kind of a far cry from that rule. Ed Lauter, who's one of the greatest supporting actors there is, the guy who's in everything but never the star, is great as the disgruntled police chief, who, of course, Bronson clashes with on a pretty regular basis. And in his feature film debut appearance, Alex Winter, who would later play Bill in the Bill and Ted movies, even plays one of the lesser thugs. So it's a great cast, I mean, despite the fact that it's ridiculous, over-the-top, violent, fun cinema. Oscar material this ain't, but if you want to have a great time watching Charles Bronson blow away the street trash, you can't do much better than this. So how does the movie look for its most recent Blu-ray release? The Death Wish films have been released on Blu-ray a few times, and we've gotten a few, special edition releases from niche labels here and there. Because the legalities of this are a little strange, because like the original Death Wish, I believe Paramount put it out, and then the sequels were put out by Canon Films, which was a low-budget exploitative company headed up by Menahem Golan and Joran Globus. They would also be the producers on the fourth Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. And one thing that kind of surprises me is, despite these being just low-budget exploitative films, they've always looked pretty good on home video. And I have to say, this release of Death Wish 3 is easily the best I've seen the movie look. I mean, the colors are pretty vibrant. There's quite a bit of detail in the image. It's amazing that these, low-budget films can actually be some of the best-looking ones on the format. Probably the only complaint I have is that this is a Blu-ray disc and not a 4K, because I think if we got this same transfer in 4K with HDR applied, it could look even better. Fans will not be disappointed with what they see picture quality-wise. As far as bonus features go, there is a commentary track on here from Paul Talbot, who had written the Bronson's Loose books. And there's a new interview with actor Kirk Taylor. Kirk Taylor plays a thug in the movie known only as the Giggler. And it's actually really interesting to hear his words, particularly about some of his interactions with Charles Bronson and the good relationship that they had on set. For any fan of Death Wish 3, I'm happy to say that this is a very well put together package. The bonus features are a little limited, but what is here is very nice, and the picture quality is fantastic. Are you a fan of the Death Wish movies? And what is your favorite one of the bunch? Is it this one, or do you prefer one of the other installments? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content, because I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.